Hi Deefa, it's been a long time. Thanks for all the work you've been doing and you continue doing. Pauline Hanson would be pretty proud of you. You're always right on the ball there and scouting Facebook to make sure her name comes up. I've got a few things I wanted to talk about. One thing is, you probably don't realise it, but you are an influencer. I get lots of people. I get heaps of messages, at least 30 a day. You probably get the same. And people tell me that they read what we do. They don't like or share because it's against their code of conduct in the workplace, or it offends their friends, and a lot of their family have got sick of them and friends banging on about political Islam or politics or whatever. So they're very careful in how they approach Facebook, except for some of the fanatical ones. But you are influencing them, and by what you're putting up there is bringing to their attention. But they're not going to click on like, and they're not going to share. But that doesn't matter. That's you're influencing, and that's the important thing. I've got a list here, not the whole book. I'm quite impressed with how you live off the grid and how hard it, and the cost to get where you are. You've worked very hard to do that, and you seem very happy living off the grid. Probably one of the smartest things you can do these days, and especially in the future. What I'm contacting you for is I'm developing what's called a FUTURIST FORUM. You've heard of the economic forum that our fuckwit politicians and the rich elite around the world have, and I've chosen not a lot of people, but the people that matter, to be part of this futurist forum. The idea is we're not really being effective anywhere. We're trying all these different things and worrying about too many things when we need to be focused on just a few things that we can achieve. A lot of people are worried about the US elections. Yeah, we should be worried about it, but we can't do anything about that. We should be seeing what we can do in our backyard. The results of the elections going to affect the whole of Australia. But what we've got to do is focus on some tasks, some problems that we will be able to solve. For example, halal. It's something that people keep asking me, why can't we stop it? Well, our strategist tells us, and he's with the government, that there's no way halal will be stopped in Australia. The government likes it, the businesses like it, and so does the Muslims naturally. But they tell us we shouldn't be focusing on that because it's not going to happen. It's out of our control. But what we can focus on, and this would be one of the things that would be brought up in the Futurist Forum, is on labelling. We can push for labelling of any product that's been paid for as a halal product. And people will be happy with this, and the government won't be too happy, but it's a concession they would be willing to make. So one of the things at the forum we've got to talk about is how we push that to get the labelling done. So any product that's halal must have a label on it. So that's what we would focus on in the halal area. The first thing the futurists will be creating is a survey. The idea of the survey, government doesn't care, politicians never care about the surveys, really, unless it's going to affect them. So I've been told that we need to be careful how we word the survey. For example, have it, would you vote for a politician who sells Australia out by selling off our land, selling off our infrastructure, selling off our farms? And because politicians are only in it for themselves, that's their number one thing. Their number two thing is to do anything to stay a politician to help themselves. So by doing it that way, and if you can get the numbers, it does affect in your electorate. It will make a big difference because they do not want to lose. The idea of the Futurist Forum will choose a few things, and one of them would come back from the forum, some that would give us an idea of how people thought. We live in a social bubble, so we've got to be very careful that we don't make the decisions and think that everyone's thinking the same. That was proved in Queensland. Those who weren't on multimedia, they voted not for Pauline, they voted Labor. The COVID-19 vaccine, okay, in a pandemic, the government can make everyone take it. However, they can't grab you and put the needle in your arm, but they could lock you up. But Morrison's promised that that's not going to happen. We're not going to make it mandatory. However, in a way, it will be mandatory because my contacts in government tell me that any government organisation or contractor working for the government will have to have, as a condition of employment, have had the vaccine. My friends at Transport tell me that any interstate train and maybe regional trains, you'll have to have a vaccine to have been vaccinated to travel on the train, and that will include buses going through overstate borders. And as you know, planes, it's definitely going to have. So in a way, you could say that some people will be forced into it. A lot of people aren't going to be forced into it. I get a lot of people I talk to that are not online, not in the social bubble, they tell me that they're going to get it. Some want to go on cruises again. Some are wanting to go on holidays overseas. Others want to go and see their grandkids and their kids in other states. And many just want it because they're worried they're worried about it. I was in Wollongong yesterday. I went down and back to pick up some records and bring them back. Got to go back Sunday, worse luck, or Saturday, and bring more stuff back. But it was funny going to service stations where you had to put a mask on, and out at Bunnings and everywhere people had masks on. Australia Day, some areas it's good. Australia Day's going ahead. In Tamworth it is. They're having markets and a free concert and everything for Australia Day. And this is good. Harry and Lee Henderson and Trevor, they've been working hard on the convoy. Next year I'm hoping we all work hard on the convoy. Trevor sent me a message today and he said it's good enough just to put a flag on your car and go for a drive on Australia Day around the streets. And if you could have a lot of people doing that, then that would show the politicians and show everyone that Australia Day is important. We created the Australia Day t-shirts. Lee Henderson asked me about it from Queensland, who does a convoy up there. Just as a promotional shirt, not necessarily you'd wear on the day, because most people have their Australia Day shirt they wear every year, but it was to promote it coming up each year to Australia Day. And it's important we all promote, and as an influencer people will be listening to you. Talking about the states, who knows what's happening there. They're not going to impeach him. That stopped today, so that's not going to happen. There has been talk that he may come back with another party as to run against the Republicans and the Democrats in the next election, which would be really interesting because they're not used to something like that and would really upset the mix. And in Australia, this two-party, it's really difficult. What we've got to do is really knock Labor out of the ballpark. We've really got to let people know in our electorates about Fabianism, that they're Fabians, that they want to create a socialist Australia, but they're doing it underhanded, silently. And I think that should come up with a plan for that through the FUTURIST FORUM. If we don't plan, we'll plan to fail, and there won't be many in the forum. We will make sure that we follow through with what the plan is, and the forum may decide to modify the plan if something changes. But what we're hoping other groups will do it. I'm hoping Mitch Van Dam might join now the forum. I haven't sent him one of these. I'm sending this to everyone I feel that should be part of the forum, that has ideas, that's got, I was going to say balls, but got guts to do things. The Communist Party, it's about the Communists has a party, and then there's the Chinese people. The Chinese people seem very nice in most cases. It's the Communist Party that we're fighting. In America with Biden, that will cause problems there, because he's in bed with the Chinese, his son's in bed with the Chinese, etc. Now, there's a lot of food, like our Mars bars and everything, that are made in China. We've really got to talk to our electorate and just say, okay, you can't not have Chinese products like your medicine. Over 80% in the States, the medicine comes from China, and then Brazil, and most of the rest of it comes from India. But from India, that 95% of the ingredients come from China for the medicine that they're sending, and some of the patents are only owned by China, so you can't get it. So everyone's got to look after themselves health-wise, especially. However, so we don't buy the food, and we encourage people not to buy any food that's Chinese. We just either grow it, or we buy it, go to the farmers markets, etc. However, motorcycle parts, you're just not going to get them mostly from other countries, and car parts and lawnmower parts, everything that I've looked for, lawnmower, doesn't matter if it's a Victor or a Yardman or whatever, it's all Chinese, manufactured. Even if it comes through the States, it's still Chinese manufactured. So we can't really get rid of those types of things, and we should always, if there's an alternative and it's economical, we should go for that. But mostly you won't be able to. But it's the food, we've got to just wipe out all the Chinese food, not the Chinese takeaway. They're the Chinese people. Still go to your takeaways and things like that, and Chinese. I've always been very proud of you and Robin because of what you did especially for female genital mutilation. I wore the t-shirt a lot, Jennifer has too, and like I was at Bunnings one day, because I only wear these shirts, like I just put this on for the video and then I'll go and put my own back on. When I go down the street I do the same with all my shirts. And we were at Bunnings one day, and the next day I went back, and this young lass come and asked me what female genital mutilation was. She thought it was about piercing, and I explained to her what it was, and she said they, at the lunch table, the ladies there, they didn't know what it meant. They didn't know what female genital mutilation was. They didn't know it happened in Australia, and they didn't know about child brides. They hadn't really noticed the child brides on the shirt, but when I talked to her about child brides, she said, "Oh, well, that doesn't happen in Australia." I said, "Yes, it does. It is happening. You should go and research it." They don't know. They're not in our bubble within social media. Social media is a bubble, but we're in a bubble within that bubble. So what I've decided to do is we'll celebrate that day still, and we'll create a plan that about child abuse, because it is a form of child abuse, and that will be the 6th of February. Won't happen this year because the forum's only starting in February. I should have my act together by then. So I'm asking that you do come. Now, the next point is multimedia bubble, or social media bubble. You already take it to the street, so we don't even have to do that. Electorate support hubs, it's a solution, but what I'm hoping is that each of the people in the forum will have their own group page for their area, where they can put on control about what's happening in their area with how the politicians, etc., and the council are fucking up, not doing what's best for the people. So we're looking at electorate hubs online, but you each to control your own in your own area. We may get someone professionally to create the artwork. Facebook versus Instagram versus others. Okay, well, you probably heard the others are suffering. Ages ago, truthphobes asked me if I'd go to another platform, but when I went and investigated, it was owned by the Russians. So you're given the information to the Russians, who were one of either the scariest or second scariest people to have your information. Well, Queensland government gives it to the Chinese for the election. I can't believe that, let them do it. But a lot of these a lot of these social media sites, there's one owned by the Chinese, there's another one that's owned by a marketing company. They get all that information for marketing, so they're selling your information, and you're allowed to say what you like. You can even talk about porn or kiddie porn even, and they don't care. However, the problem is, as our advice has been, we do better stick into Facebook and Instagram, for the fact is that you're protected by their censorship. They're actually censoring people from hate speech. They're censoring people from defamation of character. But if you do that on one of these others, you will lose a lot of money, because there's people out there now looking for defamation of character and asking big bickies, because the lawyers are doing it for nothing, and if they're not successful. So at least you're a little bit protected with Facebook and Instagram. They stop putting hate on there and that. And there's no need to put hate on there anyway. We need to focus on other things that are going to be more successful. Need for our people in Parliament. People like Elizabeth and Elle, who I'm going to ask to the forum, they used to ran once for One Nation. There's another one that people keep on my back about, is her name's Vuga or something. Kim, her name is anyway. I haven't really looked at much about that, but she's another one people are talking about. We need to highlight the minister's deficiencies to our own electorates. We need to highlight policy deficiency and party deficiencies, especially of the parties that we don't want being there. We've got to really decimate Labor, that they can't come back. We've really got to choose areas where we just hit the marketing so much and so hard in that electorate that they just don't get a foothold. We've got to scare the shit out of them, and they're arguing enough as it is. I think it's probably the country areas are going to be the best places to do that. You're already doing encourage self-sufficiency, self-reliance. When I was on the railway there, we were watching one night YouTube where it was talking about that if electricity goes out, you can't even get petrol these days, and it was saying you have lawnmower fuel at home, you should have a couple of drums of petrol or diesel for your motor vehicles, just in case there is a problem for a few days. Plus we don't keep a lot of fuel in Australia, so if the supply was cut off, then you would have nothing. And another thing that they were saying on that video was that everyone should have $600 cash if they can in their safe at home, because if the banks can't open for a few days, you just can't do anything. If electricity goes down and the doors won't even open some of the stores, but the cash registers definitely won't work, but cash they will accept. And we should do a lot of bartering and things like that. The Great Reset, I'm hoping you guys are investigating that, because that's really going to hurt everyone. I think it's pretty piss weak that the government wants in the Western world to own every piece of land, every motor vehicle, and we rent back and they'll be happy. So, and we will be happy, but they will be happy. Elena put something up, and I'll put it on our preface page, which isn't really a preface page. It was, the idea is just to remind people to become self-reliant and give them ideas, get their juices flowing, and it is more exciting, as well as nice, eating your own vegetables and not having to worry about going into the supermarket. We only eat meat now if we go into town. We might have Indian or something. Here we just eat the veggies, which is good. But the global non-compliance that Lena put, it's on that preface page, and I've put it up a few times, and I feel it is our duty for each of us to not comply with what the global elite and the global governments want us to do. So we should be bartering, we should be growing our own, we should be buying local, we should be going to our farmers. But these are a few things. I'm just hoping that you will be able to come to the table as such and be work side by side with us on the Futurist Forum, and that will be what we'll focus on. We'll probably have 4 things, hopefully not more, 5 maximum, that we'll focus on and have a plan. If we don't plan, we plan to fail. So thank you very much again for everything you've done for us. I really appreciate that. I'm looking forward to the day that you come up this way and you and your beautiful lady stay here for a couple of days. That would be very nice. There's a nice bed there waiting. Thanks again.